Welcome back, adventurer. Today's creature has been described as the bony best friend of your parents. So come, pull up a stool at Creature Tavern. Well, look who it is again. Only my favourite patron. You're becoming quite the regular around here. Aye, go on. You take the usual spot, and I'll take us on a storytelling journey of Bloody Bones, from English folklore. Also known under the sinister alias of Rawhead, Tommy Rawhead, or Rawhead and Bloody Bones, this creature is spoken of as a boogeyman figure across England and parts of North America. From what I've found, the earliest written reference to this unsettling red character dates back to around 1548, making it one of the oldest named monsters in the English-speaking world. Traditionally, Bloody Bones is described as a spectre, water demon, or frightening Cornish sprite. Feared not for indiscriminate slaughter, but for its obsession with terrifying, disciplining, snatching, and consuming children. And it's said the name alone is often enough to keep youngsters from misbehaving. Description of Bloody Bones differ between regions and tellers, but if you speak to enough people, you'll see a consistent thread emerge. An awful skeletal picture, dripping with what many suspect is blood. Yeah, the name's a bit of a giveaway. In most accounts from the UK patrons, Bloody Bones is depicted as a pile of bloody bones that rattle together and rise into the form of a headless horror. Other fables keep the skeleton part, but say it's bloodied from head to toe and stripped of most bodily tissue, leaving just enough flesh to dangle, like rags on a washing line. And in more tales, this creature is painted as perpetually sitting or crouched atop a mound of raw bones, said to be the remains of children who lied, swore, or misbehaved. One striking account describes Bloody Bones with a scalped head, and that appears to be the source of all his blood, and a perpetual grin across his leaky face. Another stranger report colours Bloody Bones not as a man, but as the severed head of a butchered hog, resurrected by a vengeful witch, for what reasons I was unable to find. But in this telling, the head reunites with its scattered bones to hunt down the man who killed it. In American retellings, the legend sometimes splits this creature into two distinct figures. Rawhead, a skinless skull with eyes but no ears, nose, lips, or a body, and Bloody Bones, a dancing, headless skeleton. Together, they form a grisly, and if you're afraid of dancing, arguably more threatening duo. Bloody Bones is most often seen crouched, like we mentioned earlier, but the few encounters of it upright have allowed us to estimate its size. Its skeleton measures 5 foot from heel to shoulder, and 5'10" with the head attached. Examination reports of the creature's skeletal structure note a large, robust skull with a prominent brow, a tall, narrow pelvis with a small pelvic outlet, thicker bone density than your average male skeletons, and elongated phalanges. These anatomical traits have led some to suggest the skeleton is that of a male's. The legend's birthplace lies in rainy old England, where they were most often talked about in Lancashire and Yorkshire. Over time, these terrifying tales spread all the way to North America, where sightings of Bloody Bones eventually migrated down to the southern United States. Now there's a couple of specific habitats in which you're likely to find Bloody Bones, and they honestly couldn't be further apart. In one fable, Bloody Bones is said to haunt deep ponds, oceans, and old marl pits. For reference, an old marl pit is a shallow excavation site that often becomes filled with water and forms a pond. This is likely why you might hear people call Bloody Bones a water demon. However, if you don't fancy a walk around the local waterways, you can have a look in the cupboards and under your stairs. Really, any dark, musty place within your home will do. There was even one tale saying old Bloody Bones spends his hours in the Knocker's Hole near the village of Balder in Cornwall. Though in my research I couldn't find a specific location by that name. But considering the history of Cornwall, I suspect Knocker Hole refers to some old abandoned mine. And you're likely to run into more than old Bloody Bones down there, if you're in the know. Now with this creature you're in luck. That is, unless you're a child, as that seems to be the one and only group targeted by this scary scarlet shadow. In fact, the threats are so frequent that parents in the sighting zones got together and came up with a little rhyme. Rawhead and Bloody Bones steals naughty children from their homes, takes them to his dirty den, and they are never seen again. Oh, it's not as funny as I bet you were thinking, given how I introduced that little bit of trivia. It's actually quite terrifying. I mean, if I were a child, I bet my boots that jingle alone would be enough to make me the bestest boy there ever was. In lore, his prey is entirely children, but only the bad ones. Children who disobey their parents, tell lies, use bad language. Basically, if they're being a little shit, they're on the menu. And punishment is swift and merciless. Folks claim Bloody Bones will rush from his little cupboard den the moment a child misbehaves, and drag them kicking and screaming back to his lair to be devoured. All but the bones, which he adds to his ever-growing pile. Or in some older English tales, instead of ending up under the stairs, the child will be dragged down into the depths of whatever waterway Bloody Bones has taken up residency in. And geography is irrelevant. Could be a kid yelling at its mum in a nearby street. Another kicks her brother in the park. Even had one tale of a gossip that lost his head to the monster as punishment for his wicked tongue. This creature is said to appear instantly, so long as there's a dark, cramped spot nearby to store his ever-grown pile of bones. This uncanny ability suggests either extraordinary hearing or a more unnerving talent. Perhaps some form of omnipresence, attuned specifically to the frequency of children. The physical features of Bloody Bones give him an advantage in the chase too. Those elongated phalanges we mentioned earlier are said to allow for a sudden burst of acceleration, making escape virtually impossible. It's pretty unfair, really. Considering he only goes after children, they ain't ever going to stand a chance. Even the act of spying on him can seal a child's fate. The Under the Stairs version specifically warns that peeking through the keyhole at the creature will conclude with your bones joining the pile. Now, the exact force animating Bloody Bones is a matter of wide speculation. Some sources refer to him as a demon, but these tales lack any reference to a witch or warlock, and this absence has led to theories that his movement is the result of a curse instead of a summoning, the work of a haunting spirit perhaps, or outright spiritual possession. In one local fable, in the village of Balder, there was said to have been a massacre in the area, and it suggested that Bloody Bones was a ghost or evil spirit attracted by the carnage. And if you're talking about the Rawhead Bloody Bones duo from South America, tales of this haunting pair say they share a psychic link, enabling the head to find victims even if you've only had a run-in with the body. With this devilish duo meeting one part of the monster, inevitably leads to the deadly bite of the other. In short, with his supernatural awareness, merciless hunting, and gruesome appetite, Bloody Bones is a predator from whom there is neither hiding nor escape. So you best behave, lest you suffer a visit from bloody bones. To survive this red-faced rattler, there's about 3 things you can do. At least from what I've had across the bar. Number 1. If ever you should hear the sound of rattling bones at night, sourcing from the stairwell or your mother's dusty cupboard, it might be best not to peek inside. Number 2. Don't be a child. Hey, I didn't say these would be good tips, but since Bloody Bones only goes after children, try not being a children. And number 3, if you are a child, then don't be mean, or a gossip, or spy through any keyholes. At least till you're 13. And with that, we're finished with our creature for the day. We've learned that if Gossip Girl was about children, and in the UK, we'd have a completely different story. Now that bell means it's last call here at Creature Tavern, so grab yourself one more drink for the road, and until next time, tread carefully, adventurer. You never know when you might wander into the weird.